Good evening. Thank you for joining us. My name is Celeste Prescott, Public Information Officer with Southwest Incident Management Team 1. And this is the Calf Canyon and Hermits Peak Fire Update for May 20th. I was going to update you on some numbers. As of 5 p.m., the fire is 306,000 acres, 472, 40% contained, and 2,707 personnel are currently assigned to the fire. I'm going to go ahead and turn it over to Southwest Incident Management Team 1's Incident Commander, Carl Schwope.
Good evening, Carl Schwope. I see here with Team 1. Lot of good news to share with you here this evening. So before I get started, we got to say hi to Jasmine. She's somewhere right here, and she works with emergency response interpreters out of Arizona. So thank you for your services. A few days ago, got up here and talked about the critical fire weather conditions that we were going to be looking at over the upcoming days, and 2,400 firefighters out here did tremendous work over yesterday and today in these red flag conditions, and the fire really has not moved here in the west zone, and that's really a lot of effort because we did have spots outside of the control lines in several places, and they would go in there, find those, dig them out, and they would do that without aircraft for the most part because we know when the wind speeds get up, we have to put our aircraft back on the ground. So that's really good news. We do have some evacuation updates to give that I know the sheriff will talk about in a little bit due to a spot fire out west, and Jason will share that with you. But what I do want y'all to look at is also this weather matrix. I know y'all are used to looking at the weather matrix, and most of the time it's all red. You see a lot of green in that matrix, and that's going to give us a good 5 days here that we can really make a lot of progress coming around the west zone and the entire fire. So really excited about that. And so with that, I'll turn that back to Celeste.
Thank you, Carl. And I'm going to go ahead and bring up our Operations Section Chief for Southwest Incident Management Team 1, Jason Coyle.
Yeah, hi, good morning, Jason. Good afternoon. It's been a long day. Good evening. I'm going to start at the top of the map, and then I'm going to show you a little video, and then we're going to close it out with what's going on the bottom of the map. So, like Carl said, crews did a really incredible job today. Thanks to the East Zone, they loaned us some hotshot crews to tie in with the hotshot crews that we already had working this finger north of Martinez Pond, and they allowed us to keep those for a couple more days. So I'll tell you about the work that was done, and I'll tell you what they're going to keep doing tomorrow. So there was spots that had come outside of the line here to the north of Martinez Pond, really concerning to us because there's big stringers of timber that could take this all the way to the east and all the way over there towards Sierra Bonita. Crews got in there early and had to pick up some spots that were below outside of their actual line. After they did that, they're able to start working their way around that edge. Fortunately too that we were able to get aircraft up early this morning, briefed the air attacks and the lead plane pilots yesterday. We got the helicopter crews on early, and so they got a good 4 hours of work plus out of them, and a lot of that work was concentrated on this area to the west of Martinez Pond on the north end of Division Kilo. Anticipate that by tomorrow they should be able to get this line tied in back to the dozer line, and then we'll spend another day in there making sure that it's secure. And we'll spend more than another day, but we'll spend another hard day with a serious concentration of force to make sure that it was secure. So with that being done, everything is looking really good all the way down to the 518, and nothing makes me feel better than to make Stewart's models incorrect. And to the best of our knowledge, we've done that when it comes to any fire across the 518. So nothing is established north or east of the 518 road there. Before I talk about what we're going to be doing about the spot fire, I want to show you a little video that shows what that spot fire looks like and where its location is on the landscape.
Over in Branch 2, the Camales cutoff area, this is a spot that's developing. Put it in IR. A lot of amber wash. Let's see if I can grab that. There you go, right where the crosshairs are at. You can see the amber wash pulling right there.
Yeah, look at that.
And this,
look at the little white spots
right
flying out of the sky that look like snow.
Off the Division A hotel area. Kick it back into it and see what's around it. kind of timber mix. There's a really subtle drainage right behind it on the backside of the smoke. Right there. That's what it's working its way into with the ember wash. And then it'll get into this higher altitude mix. And that's what it's primarily been doing off on this western flank. And that would be.
Okay, so a couple things about that. One, if you noticed the way you could see the smoke going up, smoke was actually going up to the northeast. Oh, sorry, to the southwest, and then as it got higher, it was curling back around to the northeast, and that's on account of all this terrain up here. So it was just like it does if you have a privacy fence, and you'll notice that the snow melt on the backside of that privacy fence quicker. It was creating a bunch of eddies in there, and those eddies caused some of the end of this fire here, or a spot maybe that came out in earlier days, to get active. It ran up to the top of the ridge there, and then the next drainage over is Camolles Creek, and it looks like it's backing down into that drainage. Once it gets closer to the main ridge that comes off of Ripley's Point up to the north, then those prevailing winds are going to become they're going to have a lot more influence. We anticipate that's going to keep it from moving any further to the west immediately. Tomorrow night, we are concerned about the potential of some southeast winds that northeast and then southeast winds that are predicted. So what we're doing is we're continuing to implement the precautionary plan that we already had in place to make sure that we're protecting the 73 corridor and Pinasco and then the Picary's Pueblo. So we got 2 dozers going in here today. We're going to plug 3 more in tomorrow to get up here towards Bear Mountain, improving this road and opening it back up towards Ripley Point. And then what we're going to do is we're going to evaluate. So based on what we're able to do with aircraft tomorrow, when they're able to fly to control this edge of the fire, we have different road options that keep us from having to impact the ski resort and bring it down off different ridge options. They're not roads. You have to make roads, push them open. But there's a couple different options that we're going to explore tomorrow. Hit the crews that we're going to ask in there to do the hard work, in with the division supervisors and then with one of the other operations chiefs, and figure out which one of these would be the best alternative, and then continue to work to suppress that spot with the heavy helicopters and with the other aerial resources that we have, and then continue to work along this edge and do everything we can to pick this up over the coming days. So, we didn't want a spot there. It definitely brought it closer to the 73 corridor. That northeast and southeast wind increased the risk of it moving even much closer to that area. However, it's, we talked about this morning 24 square miles where we need to concentrate our effort. We're going to concentrate our effort on 3 or 4 square miles here, and then we're going to be concentrating our effort on this 5 or 6 square miles over here with all of our forces tomorrow. End of report.
Thank you so much, Jason. We always appreciate your detailed reports. And for those who haven't been with us the last few days, we are in 3 separate zones now. So that was the West Zone report. I'm going to go ahead and pass it down to our partners in the South Zone for an update from California Interagency Incident Management Team 5, Operations Section Chief Alex McBath.
All right, good evening, everybody. Alex McBath, Operations Team 5. With the South Zone report for the 20th. We've had really good winds today. They were in the 30 to 40 mile an hour range, but they were all coming out of the west and kind of buffering it up into it. So overall, across the whole fire, we did see the fire in multiple areas along the west side, from Bull Creek up to Bear Creek, that intensified today, but they didn't make any movement towards the west. So that's the good news. And we don't see any of that overnight doing any different with the winds we're currently having. So I'll run you around the ring here, starting at the north end up here by Gascon, Lower Rosita, and Lone Pine Mesa. Everything's looking really good up in there. We had one priority area that we were working, which is up off the 276, 371 road. There's a couple structures in there. There's fire up on the hillside there, and we had folks in there making sure that those structures were safe from any fire coming off the hill. No issues today, and we'll continue that on into tomorrow. We had folks in the Lower Rosita area 105 down the 94 into Santa Ignacio, and everything's looking really, really good. All the way down to Galenas. Folks in there all day, not really finding a whole lot. But up at the headwaters of Galenas, kind of up around Lone Pine up in here, Big Pine just north of it, up in the wilderness, there were some green islands that really picked up in activity. No threat to any of the lines, but they did put up quite a bit of smoke, and we figure to continue to see that over the next couple of days. So these two big islands will continue to have fire probably spread within them and consume some fuels up in there. Moving on back down around Las Vegas and over into Mineral Hill, everything's looking real good. We have folks actually starting repair. We did have one spot fire that was reported down by Mineral Hill, and it ended up being a spot in the black that was put out basically with a boot. So thanks for the heads up on that from the public and the state police, but it was no issue and taken care of quickly. Coming on around to San Pablo and to the south end, over into what Lower Colonos and Upper Colonos. This has been our primary focus for the last 2 days that we've been here, and the team before us is getting in some direct line up along this to keep it east of Lower Colonos, and so far we've been successful with that. The crews again today took some opportunity when it presented itself to get in there and continue those check lines and direct lines along the fire's edge. But with the winds and the lack of air support, they could only do just a quarter mile to three-quarters of a mile. They didn't want to overextend themselves. And then additionally, some of the alternate lines and or indirect lines that we have going in to protect Upper Colonos and Lower Colonos, they're polishing up. So they're in. Now we're just making those lines a little bigger. We're plumbing them with water and really making that indirect line somewhere where firefighters are safe if this thing decides in the coming days to come out of there and get over our direct line. So feeling really good with that. Structure protection is pretty much, structure defense has all been implemented in Lower Colonos and Upper Colonos. They're feeling really good about that plan, and we have the resources to implement that plan if the fire should want to move to the west here in the coming days. So as you will see all up the Pecos Valley corridor, Tres Lagunas, you're going to see firefighters starting to get into those areas and assess the structures up in there. That's going to start tomorrow, and all the way up into Holy Ghost and Cowles all the way to the north. So you will see an influx of firefighters up in there out of our structure group, getting a structure plan and starting to put in all the prep we need in those areas. So continuing on up into kind of parallel on Bull Creek here, everything's looking really good with the exception of one piece right there. And that piece is where we have some hot shots that have been going direct, and that's really where they're trying to put some check any of those spots that have the potential to come out of there. But it is active, and you will see smoke up there. So there's indirect lines on the other side of Bull Creek that are coming up Ruidoso Ridge, trying to cut that off. And we've also had some other indirect lines coming off the black down into our other indirect lines off the 203, and those are all 2 days out from being complete and ready to go, should the indirect not work. Continuing on up into Bull Creek's looking really good until you get all the way up into Bear Creek. So Bear Creek's up in the wilderness, and we've been monitoring that, and there's quite a bit of fire activity up here. So far, all that fire activity has been pushing into the fire. All the smoke has, anything that rolls out is going right back up into the fire. So it's moving real slow, but it is a concern in the coming days, specifically because this is a real big drainage, and it kind of goes right out into Cowles and Holy Ghost. So that's why our attention tomorrow will be up on that upper end. So you should see more firefighters up in there. Been talking with the sheriffs. We're in close coordination with them about what that'll look like. Right now it's in set, and we're talking to them constantly about what that'll look like if we need to go in to go. We want to give them plenty of time to make contact with all the folks up in there and make sure that they get evacuated safely. So that's a high concern up in there. Moving up into the wilderness, back up towards the west zone where the southwest team's working. This is all kind of stubbed up in a lot of natural barriers, and really there is fire activity up there, but it's not moving very much. So higher elevation and with the current winds, it's not really making any growth to the west as we've seen today. So overall, a really good day. The crew's got a lot of good work done today, and just want to emphasize that you're going to see a lot of firefighters out there in the community. If you have questions, ask them. They should answer those questions and give them your support. And with that, really appreciate it. Have a good day.
Thank you so much, Alex. Really appreciate that detailed report and some good news coming out of the Southern Zone. With that, I'm going to turn it over to our partners on the East, and that is California Interagency Incident Management Team 2, Operations Section Chief Keith Garola.
Good evening. Today we had an extremely great day of containing a lot of the fire that we had that was uncontained prior. We're going to start, though, on the bottom here at Mora, and we'll work our way to the north. So the area from Mora on the east side, going all the way up to Guadalupita, the last few days has been holding really, really well. You'll notice on the map, the edge here is black. That means that we're very, very confident that that fire is going to stay contained within those lines and not pop out of there. Another thing before we go any further on the map, I want to show you, we have branch 35 in here. So this was added, we split off from branch 30 to branch 35. It's a division of labor. We had 6 divisions already in place. We were adding potentially more divisions to the north. So it was time for us to divide our workforce and put in another layer of supervision. So if you see the branch 35 and the branch 30, that's a division of labor. Also, you'll notice that our divisions are double lettered. And we do that when a fire is so large as this one is, that we run out of space for single lettering. We run out of the alphabet, basically. So that's why you'll see the double lettering in the east zone. Okay, so we left off from Mora, going up to Guadalupita. This is all looking real good. We still have resources out there that are patrolling the line, driving the road, just to ensure that nothing from interior pops out of there. Our priority for today, and the West Zone talked a little bit about it, is right up in here, just north and west of Guadalupita. The crews have been concentrating in there, all their effort for the last few days, and they've done some really, really good work. They were able to do so much good work that they were able to bump crews into the West Zone and assist them. So that is the fire perimeter, but that's not all the work that's being done. Simultaneously, again, not knowing if this fire, it has a history of making long runs, chewing up lots of acreage, and with that being the case, we need to be prepared if it was to ever do it again. So simultaneously from the control lines, we're having what we call secondary or contingency lines out to the east and to the north. So to the east, Sierra Bonita, Black Lake, all this area in here, the crews were making good progress today, doing structure prep around most of the homes that are there, and also putting in secondary lines, the contingency lines, to the east. Going further to the north, still real good structure prep continuing around Angel Fire. We are also, in conjunction with the West Zone, we're looking at putting in this secondary line on top of the ridge for possible containment if we have future problems with this line here. One of the benefits of all this secondary work is we're just at the start of fire season. And if things are going good for us on this fire and we're able to contain it south, these lines will still come into play if there's future fires the rest of the year, and actually for several years to come with the line that's being constructed on top of the ridge. So a lot of benefits of putting in these contingency lines. We had a real good meeting today with all the resources in the Angel Fire area. We have resources that are committed from out of state, and it's called with an agreement from governor to governor. It's called EMAC, and that agreement has provided numerous fire engines and a couple crews for us to be able to use up around the Angel Fire area. Those crews are doing great work in preparing around the numerous structures, while the team crews are able to do some line construction on the ridge top just to the west. We are evaluating every day our evacuations. We'll be looking at them again tomorrow morning, again, based upon the predicted fire behavior that we have for the next few days. That's the end of the report from the East Zone.
Thank you so much. We really appreciate all of our operations section chiefs taking the time out of their busy days to report out. And I do want to clarify that all three teams are Type 1 teams. I know there had been a little confusion on that. And just a little background on that, there's only 17 Type 1 teams in the entire nation, and 3 of those are currently assigned to this fire. So it is obviously very important and still the #1 fire in the nation. We're going to go ahead and turn it over to Stuart Turner, our fire behavior analyst, now for an update on what to expect for fire behavior.
Good evening. My name is Stuart Turner. I'm the fire behavior analyst for Team 1. As the fire behavior analyst, I predict what the fire is going to do, where it's going to go, how fast it's going to get there. I look at 3 things. I look at the topography, the hills, the mountains, the valleys. I look at the fuels, and I look at the weather. Let me share my screen, and we'll take a look at the weather real quick and see what's coming up. As you saw from Icy Carl, looks really good. Not so much red, not so much orange on there. Things are looking really good for the next 4 or 5 days. Now that green means good work days for the crews. Aircraft will probably be flying, and we should see a lot of containment starting to get pushed on the map. Looking at tomorrow, we've got some cloud cover coming in, which really knocks the steam out of the fire potential. It doesn't get a lot of solar radiation, not a lot of preheating, so it really is not aggressively burning. And the humidity is coming up, which will moisten up those fine dead fuels. And a fire runs on fine dead fuels. That's what really drives the fire. Those fine dead fuels are the grasses, the pine needles, the small twigs, anything less than a 1/4 inch in diameter. That's what really carries and drives these big forest fires. Even when they're in excess of 300,000 acres, they're driven by those fine dead fuels, and those will moisten up nicely with that humidity. We'll get pretty moderate overnight recovery tonight, overnight humidity recovery, so those will moisten up nicely, and which will delay the start of the burn period a little bit tomorrow. And then tomorrow night, you can see that we'll get a recovery up to about 68%, which will be really good for those fuels. That will really moisten those up and make those not go anywhere for the next several days. And the winds come down a little bit. And as we all know, these have been big wind-driven fires, and that wind's going to moderate a little bit and be good to us. The only big thing that concerns me is this southeast wind that we're seeing coming in. It's kind of a new direction. We've been seeing some southwest, but this is going to be a little bit further south. So that means it's going to want to push fire more of a northerly direction and maybe even a northwest direction. So that is bothersome a little bit. But with the lower indices across the board, I'm not expecting the fire behavior that we have been seeing in the past few days. Today was a good day overall on the fires. You heard everybody talking about. The crews worked extremely hard in making my predictions not come true, and that's a very good thing. That's what we're after, is the runs that we do, the modeling we do, are to forecast what could happen and give the crews an idea of where they need to concentrate their efforts. So congratulations to them and keeping this thing from not crossing the 518 and other critical thresholds around the fire. Let's take a look at what I think is going to happen tomorrow. And we'll start on the easy spots. Up here on the northeast corner of the fire, don't expect to see any growth today. It was tested well today with that strong west wind. We saw nothing. We'll put a little southerly component on it, test it a little bit more, and that should give those folks a good confidence that they're getting a handle on that. As we come down the entire east side, I'm not expecting any problems along here. Tested well today. Once again, we'll test it again with a little bit different winds tomorrow, but I'm not expecting any issues there. Nothing along the south part of the fire. These southerly winds will blow anything back in to the black, if you will, but I don't think we'll see anything moving out of there. Now, as we come along to the west side, the southwest corner here, we still have open line in a lot of areas. We're not seeing a lot of movement where my cursor's at right now in the far southwest corner towards the Pecos area. Some interior burning, some interior heat, but we're not seeing a lot of movement in that area, which is going to be a good thing for the next couple of days. That southerly component will help keep that in check. As we come up along the true western side of the fire, one concern I have is anywhere along here, if anything moves with the slope and gets like a button hook in it and want to move to more to the north, like right here in this area where my cursor is pointing to, that could always move with those southerly component winds. So we have to watch those to make sure that they're not going anywhere. But for the most part, I'm not expecting to see a great deal of movement anywhere along the west area. Most of it will be topography driven, looking for slope, looking for fuels on those slopes, and moving up slope with that topography. That brings us all the way up to the northwestern corner where the spot fire was that you heard Operations Coil talk about 3:30 or so, I think it was. That was reported about 16 acres. So that's been growing and will continue to grow. It gets to the point where it gets very difficult for crews to work on it. So then we're left as Operations Coil was talking about, going to dozers and trying to get a line around that. But that's going to continue to grow. Right now, with the southwest winds on it, it's going to move off to the northeast and a little bit to the north. And then tomorrow, what we're going to see is that south-southeast wind, south-southwest wind will try to push it more to the north and once again off to the northeast. And let me show you, let's see here, where's that? Share my screen, a different screen here for you. And give you a little bit more detail on what I think my run is going to do for tomorrow. We'll let that come up. So this is a 4-day run that my long-term analyst did for us that shows the spot fire over here just southwest of Tres Rios, and is right about in this area is where it started at. And then it shows the growth. Here's day 1. That's today. Here's day 2. If we don't freeze up, there's day 2. That's tomorrow. Day 3. Not much growth there. And day 4. So today, tomorrow, we may see the biggest growth. But what I really think is going to happen tomorrow is we'll be flying aircraft. And Jason's crews will do what they do best, is they'll get after this spot fire and hammer it pretty good with the scoopers of the heavy aircraft so the crews can get in there and do their thing and keep this from spreading very far. But in absence of any of that work, this is what could happen with that spot fire and how far it can move in the next couple of days. And let's see, I got one more place I need to talk about that I've promised people I will speak to. Let me get to that. Share a different screen. Can't leave anybody out. So then we come all the way up to the very tip top on the west side, Chalcone area. Once again, we're going to get tested up in that area if we put any kind of southerly component to the wind and see what comes off of that. But then as we come down the 121 corridor, that east side on the 121 corridor continues to back down to the road. We're seeing less and less heat on the satellite infrared detection, but it is continuing to back down, just not in any sufficient quantity that will pop up on that satellite. But if you go up in there and look at it, you'll see that it's still continuing to slowly back down, cleaning those fuels up and making that area safe again. Remember, when we talk about cleaning fuels up, it's one of the strategies we use to put a forest fire out. If you remove the fuels from ahead of the fire, it can no longer spread. And we do that mechanically. We pull those away with bulldozers, with hand crews, with fire line, whatever it may be, or we allow it to be burned through natural consumption of the fire or a burnout. So that's one of the ways we remove that fuel ahead of any fire, whether it's on the 121 corridor or anywhere around the fire. By removing those fuels, we stop the spread of the fire. And then lastly, the overall picture of the fire. Interior of all the fire area, there are still unburned islands. We're going to still continue to see smoldering fire behavior in there. We're going to see those islands burn out. Some of them will burn out very rapidly with extreme fire behavior. But that's all part of the natural process of cleaning up on the inside. And we have crews in there watching that and taking care of any structures that may occur around. And with that, I'll just leave it and be around for any questions people may have. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Stuart. We always appreciate that. And I'll just reiterate that, again, his runs are only if no action is taken. So we have seen some amazing work done out there, and thank goodness we're proving him wrong. With that, I'm going to bring up Taos County Sheriff Jerry Hogriff.
Thank you, Celeste. Good evening, Taos County. Jerry Hogriff, for anybody that doesn't know me. And as you've already heard, we did have a change today. I just want to start with saying this. Look over here. Green is good. Look over here. Green, not good. Okay? Green status over here is go. We did change the Highway 73 corridor today. It went from set to go. There's a number of reasons for that, and as you've already heard, the spot fire that jumped out on this side, I believe it's actually 6 acres if I'm not mistaken. I think it was originally reported up to 16, but regardless, we have a spot fire that moved over here. The concerning part of that, as all this incident command team was mentioning, is it jumped to the west and we had a prevailing western wind, and it still started there. It could have jumped yesterday and smoldered and then started up today. Don't know, don't matter. But it prompted us to look at this 73 corridor down to Santa Barbara area and the roads around it, and it is close. It's 3.5 miles, and that was a trigger point that we needed to make an adjustment on that. The other reasoning for that is now you're going to see a lot of fire crews, a lot of fire trucks, heavy equipment, semis, trailers potentially going in and through the very narrow Highway 73 roadway. We need that roadway for the fire suppression efforts and for the firefighters to have good access. So all those things combined, along with the suspected poor air quality that's going to be there, it was a decision that wasn't made lightly. We also changed this area of El Valle down in through here. It went from gray, this little bottom portion, into red for ready. I want to emphasize red is ready. I know you've seen things in the military, red is bad and whatever. In this case, red is ready, yellow is set, and then green is go. So green is the most hazardous area that on the map that we need to be concerned with. You've heard us talking about this for several days, that it may change. Well, today was the day, folks. It reached the trigger point and it did change. This fire and all the activities around it, they are dynamic. It doesn't mean that now that it's green, it never goes back to yellow or never goes back to red. That could happen. We have all the faith in the world of this incident management team, your Taos County management team, and all the firefighters and boots on the ground that are diligently working to knock this area down. Folks, I know it's an inconvenience. I truly do, and I sympathize with those of you that have cattle, horses, homes, loved ones in that area. We want to help you in any way we can to get them out of there. So please call us if you have a loved one, an elderly, a family member or neighbor that needs assistance, whether it's loading baggages, getting their car out, or if they need a ride. We will help them with that as best we can. It is an inconvenience, but I just got to stress, this was the smart and responsible thing to do in the best interest of keeping that access open and for public safety and public health. A couple other things I want to mention. The Pinasco High School has been a shelter area. That is now closed. The primary shelter area is the Taos Ag Center, and that's located on Chamisa Road at the south end of the town of Taos. There's also our county management team has worked diligently throughout the day to set up a backup shelter if we need it. That will be at the Taos Middle School. So for right now, the Ag Center is the shelter and evacuation area for anyone that needs to relocate. And with that, I don't have anything else. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Sheriff. We appreciate all that important information. I'm going to go ahead and turn it back down to our partners at the South for San Miguel County Sheriff Chris Lopez.
Good evening. I'd like to start by kind of just reflecting a little bit on everything that we've been through here in San Miguel County. I was kind of looking back at things, and I think we're right around 45 days now that we've been dealing with this, and you know, it just makes me proud to be in the position I am and serving the people of San Miguel County, and you know, just the strength and resiliency that they show each and every day in dealing with this. You know, I know we've had a lot of good news over the past week in terms of repopulation and getting people back into their residences, and also a lot of heartbreak as people return to their homes and to find them destroyed. And with that, I know, you know, our partners, local, state, federal partners, private partners have all been working really hard to make sure that we're taking care of those that are in need, and we will continue to do so each and every day. I know we had some reports from FEMA. We've had some of our state partners here. I know we've been engaged in a lot of meetings with our state partners in terms of local leadership and really having those discussions and bringing out the concerns of the citizens that are brought forth to our local leadership. And so we're really looking at addressing all that and finding ways to get the resources to those that are in need, and also hearing what those resources are. So we'll continue to do that. Another big concern that we're really trying to work on is you know, the possibility of monsoons coming is nearly 6 weeks away, and working on mitigation plans to kind of deal with that. Those are all things that are being worked on as we speak, and we'll continue to work on those and hopefully get some stuff in movement here in the next few days. So that's something that I'm guaranteeing to you that we're all working on each and every day, and that's just on the part of the fire that it's safe to do so now, which is, you know, that whole east side. In terms of downgrading ready, set, go statuses, we also did some more downgrades yesterday. Unfortunately, I couldn't make the meeting yesterday to report that to you. So those areas would be Big Pine, Canovas Canyon, El Porvenir Canyon, Chavez, Pandaree Valley East, and Pandaree Village. And so those have been downgraded to a ready status from a set status. And so, I mean, that's all good news in terms of kind of getting back, you know, moving in the other direction, as Sheriff Hogriff was talking about, as his communities start to move into the into the ready, set, go towards evacuation. And in some of our communities, we're going back down to get out of evacuation status, which is really good news for us as we've been dealing with it for quite some time. And hopefully that'll continue to happen. As you continue to look at the map, you see all the black and all the containment, which I think it's about 40% or maybe a little bit more right now. That's huge in terms of what we're dealing with the fire that we're dealing with and what we've seen over the past several days and the things that it's done. So with that, as I've stressed to you, we're still not out of the woods yet, especially on that western end of the fire where you see all the red still. And our incident management teams have been engaged in a dogfight. They just on the work that I've been seeing them complete each and every day, they've been able to hold that fire with very little movement. And a lot of that is also attributed to the conditions and the wind that we've been having, which is primarily out of the southwest pretty commonly. But over the past several days now, the team's been really working hard on securing that fire's edge and preparing secondary lines in preparation for what's coming. What you see here, anytime you see an easterly wind, it brings concern because we've had issues. And I feel like the team's done a lot to prepare for that, and hopefully they can hold it with the work that they've done. But I bring that up because as law enforcement and safety as my primary concern, I want you to be ready. And so you start seeing these easterly or southeasterly winds. Those are directions we don't normally see. And then you start looking at 20-mile-an-hour winds. Well, that's going to push towards their lines, and that's going to see where we really stand. But it also, in talking about that, we have our trigger points that are set up, and if the fire reaches those points, that's when we make. That's when we have our discussions with operations, and that's when we decide whether or not we need to do evacuations. Some of those areas that we're talking about, again, Bull Canyon, Cow Creek, Upper and Lower Colonias, which have already been evacuated. Now, there has been a handful of people that have chosen to stay in there, and I want to take the opportunity to let you know that now would be the time to get out. It's not worth the life. It's not worth taking the chance, especially for some of the conditions that we're dealing with, that we've been dealing with. And anytime that, we have to go back in to try and save a life, it takes away from the ability of the team to do their work in holding this fire from getting any bigger or moving anymore. So, I just want to reiterate that. Get out. Let us do our work. Let us keep people safe. Let the team continue to fight the fire. And let's finish this already. Other areas that are of real concern to me is that whole Upper Pecos Canyon corridor, which includes Holy Ghost, Tres Lagunas, El Macho, and Lower La Posada. Those are all in a set status. The one that really, as you were hearing from the operational report, you have all this fire in here that's real active. Right across from that is that Holy Ghost area or polygon that we have identified. It's an area of concern to me, and I just want those individuals who live in that area to know that and just to be prepared, because with the next couple of days of predicted wind, there's a high potential, I think, that we could be in that area asking you to evacuate. So keep that in mind and be prepared. Remember, again, that Pecos Canyon, it's one way in, one way out. There's not really a way to get around that. It's egress is very limited. So if you don't have to be there, maybe get out for a while and let us do our job and let the team continue to work on catching this fire so we can get past this whole disaster already. In terms of resources, again, and I've been talking about it a lot every time I come up, we have the county website, which has really been something put together. The Calf Canyon Hermits Peak Fire link on the website. It's been put together specifically for you guys, for the listeners, for the citizens of San Miguel County, and it has links to all of our sites that we talk about each and every day, to include all of our FEMA resources and a lot of our state resources, and that's co.sanmiguel.nm.us. And with that, and also listed on that website is a 1-800 number, which you can call, and that's to our EOC, and they can answer any questions that you have, and that's 1-800-432-2080. And any questions in terms of resources, maps, fire info, any of our shelters, and information that you might need for that, and also for donations. So pretty much we've set that up to be a one-stop shop. I know a lot of people are always looking all over trying to find information, or calling all over trying to find information. You can find just about anything that you want on that line. One other thing that I've been getting questions about now that we're starting to move into the Pecos Canyon corridor is livestock. So in terms of getting into feed livestock, it's important that we have a system in place, and that's to call our state police dispatch center, and you'll get put on a list, and our livestock board will give you a call when it's safe to do so, and if operations approves, they'll escort you in there to get your animals fed, or they'll feed them for you depending on what the request is. And so I know that there's a lot of confusion on that. Also, at times we're able to make those escorts for people to get stuff if it's deemed safe by our operations of the fire, because it's not always safe to do so. So we're trying to make those accommodations when it's available. We can't always make it, but we're trying to do the best that we can, and we'll continue to do so. So hopefully we can get past these next couple days, because I'm really excited looking at this. I don't think I've seen a weather map with that much green in it, so it's pretty exciting for me if we can just get past these next few days. That's the end of my report.
Thank you so much, Sheriff. A lot of good information there, and it's always good when we start hearing those evacuations levels being downgraded. With that, I'm going to go ahead and pass it back down to the south for California Interagency Incident Management Team Incident Commander Rick Young.
Good evening. My name is Rick Young. I'm with California Incident Management Team 5. We assumed command of the south zone of the fire this morning after a very smooth transition with Southwest Team 3, as our operations section had been embedded with them for about 4 days. I want to start out by saying I recognize the uncertainty that spreads throughout the communities that are directly affected and even indirectly affected by events of this magnitude. And I also recognize the fear and anxiety that consume the individuals that are directly affected by this. And I want to state very clearly that it is my intent to minimize the size and spread of this fire through a very aggressive full suppression strategy. But I also want to be very clear, as you heard earlier, we do face some very challenging days ahead, though I am very optimistic we will continue to make progress. One of our goals is to be able to provide you with timely and accurate information, and this venue is one of the best ways for us to do that. So I'm going to ask you to continue to participate in here so you can get right from all of us the most accurate information. I look forward to hearing from you, hearing how our team can best serve the needs of this community. Thank you for your time. Be safe and be well.
Thank you so much, Incident Commander Young. And with that, we conclude all our presenters for this evening. I do want to advise everyone that these videos are recorded and held on YouTube, and so you can go back and watch any of our videos at any time on the Calf Canyon and Hermits Peak Fires YouTube page, as well as on this Facebook page. They'll always be available to rewind and watch once it is concluded. In addition, I would just like to thank everyone for their continued support and the thanks that are coming in. We will pass those down to the firefighters in the field. We really appreciate it. It is long, hard days out here, and your thanks and appreciation is invaluable. With that, we'll see you tomorrow evening at 6 p.m., and you guys stay safe.